to introduce myself. I'm Lisa Mayen, and I'm the Service Learning Coordinator here at Holyoke Community College. And I also want to introduce Alex Wagman. She's the Service Learning documentarian, and Alex really engineered this program today. So really thankful for everything that Alex has done to help make this happen today. And this is our first ever Service Learning Student Conference, and we're doing it virtually, which is kind of amazing. So as you can see with the screen share right now, we have a lineup of courses. So we're going to be hearing from education, honors, psychology, and marketing students. And again, mute yourself until you're ready to talk, but then please, after each presentation, feel free to use the reaction buttons so that you can give a thumbs up or a clap or whatever. So I just want to quickly talk about what service learning is at HCC, just to kind of give you a sense of what we normally do and then how we've adapted to this virtual realm. So the way that we define it is an educational initiative in which students in a course complete a project in or for the community that deepens student understanding of course content and objectives, and that benefits the community organization, ideally in an ongoing, sustainable way. So kind of the heart of our program is our Service Learning Faculty Fellows program, and faculty who are engaged in that work are working with community organizations, kind of building the projects from the ground up. So tonight, every single project that you'll see that the students will be talking about was requested by the community partner. So that takes the form of students creating a needed website, survey, marketing plan, etc. for a community-based organization. We'll see that tonight. Students doing requested research for and then reporting findings to a community-based organization. Students designing and hosting literacy events, nutrition demonstrations, and book readings for youth. We'll see a little of that. And students and agency clients simply learning and researching together. We've had a lot of that this semester. So as you can see, we normally are doing work that can happen virtually, but now we're sort of, really honing in on projects that will serve the community partner, but that allow us to remain virtual during this time and keep everybody safe. All right, so I think we're ready to hear from Professor Sheila Gould, who will talk a little bit about our beloved dean, who we recently lost, Dr. Moira McGuire.
Thanks, Lisa and Alex, for asking me to share a little bit about Dr. McGuire tonight. So I am going to read from my phone because I did prepare something, and normally I speak pretty fluidly off the hip, but tonight I am going to read. So this is just a brief tribute to Dr. Moira McGuire. Dr. McGuire came to HCC in April of 2018 and quickly made it clear that she would embark on a tenure at the college with a mission to do anything she could to support student success and provide students with the support they needed as a whole person, not just in academics. What we all noticed about Dr. McGuire was her love of Boston sports, her really fiery personality, and her dedication to the college. But what you might not have noticed about her is that every day around her neck, she wore a symbol called a St. Bridget's cross, which you can see an image of on your screen. So I just want to take a moment to talk about St. Bridget and why Moira's display of St. Bridget's symbol can help us remember Moira, who she was, and how we can continue to learn from her legacy. St. Bridget is one of 3 patron saints of Ireland. We all know St. Patrick, but St. Bridget and what she represents are deeply meaningful in Irish history and culture. Moira wore a St. Bridget's cross as a reminder to herself of her culture and the traits that she wanted to represent. St. Bridget is the patron saint of scholars, dairy workers, which is interesting because HCC is on land that used to be a dairy farm. She is the patron saint of the poor and the saint of children living in difficult circumstances. St. Bridget was a woman who was not afraid to speak up where she saw inequity. She was a protector of the enslaved and fought for justice and truth. And part of St. Bridget's prayer says this: I would like an abundance of peace. I would like full vessels of charity. I would like rich treasures of mercy. I would like cheerfulness to preside over all. Moira created the school supply drive to help make sure that all students had the opportunity to acquire the supplies that they needed. She worked to try to increase childcare access for HCC students who are parents. She volunteered at homeless shelters and food pantries and was not afraid to speak up when she felt she needed to. Moira was born in the month of February, and St. Bridget's Day is February 1st. The Irish call this day Imbolc. It's a celebration of the arrival of longer and warmer days. I wish warmer days to all of us as we work to carry the characteristics of strength, support, and giving through to those we interact with, and by elevating the voice of students as we're doing here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Thanks so much. So now we are going to hear from our first group of students, and these are students from Professor Sheila Gould's Education 210 class, Curriculum and Early Childhood Education. So let's give the floor to the students from EDU 210.
Okay, so I'm Riley McLaughlin. I'm one of Sheila's students, and I worked with Jessica and Miranda, and we just want to talk about our experience with the Service Learning Project. We did our project with the Eric Carle Museum. It was really fun. So our course, EDU 210, with Sheila Gould, emphasized how children learn within a developmentally appropriate setting. Students in the course use a thematic approach in designing an anti-bias curriculum in alignment with the Massachusetts Guidelines for Preschool Learning Experiences. Content areas explored included language and literacy, science, math, blocks, creative arts, and dramatic play in an inclusive classroom setting. These concepts are applied in a laboratory-based experience that include written lesson plans and student-made materials. So our project co-curators, Grace Lynn and Jarrett J., I cannot pronounce his last name, or their last name, honor childhood creativity in the exhibition Now and Then, in which they display artists' childhood drawings next to their published illustrations. The pairings inspire young visitors to make connections to their current creations and future potential. For the assignment, students were asked to pick a picture book from the Now and Then exhibit and design a project that invites guests of all ages to get hands-on with the materials and express themselves and their ideas in their own ways and in their own time.
My name is Jessica Cardona. I am one of the students that were in one of the groups of 5 groups in Sheila Gould's class. Amazing opportunity to participate in the Service Learning Project with Eric Carle Museum. The project's mission was to create a piece of art that was inspired by a book of our group's choice. Creating this project was a great way to showcase that what we upcoming educators have learned thus far in our educational journey. Since having Professor Gould as she has stressed the fact that children learn best through the process of developing their own work by tinkering and problem solving, and we as educators are the facilitators in their learning journey. I believe that the course prepared us to think outside the box and also to work as a team with your peers. The course also prepared us to approach art in a non-biased way. Teaching children how to love the process of art is important because it's not just painting and coloring, it's all the experiences collectively that make the process fun and educational.
Our service learning project gave our partner, the Eric Carle Museum, project ideas that they could implement in their virtual exhibition. We provided the museum with blog posts about the project that we designed, and we let them release it to the public.
So the impact that it had on us. So we all had our own separate impact and experience with this project. So for myself, the project allowed me to challenge myself in expanding on my creative thinking, and it really sparked my imagination. So I learned so much about connecting children's books with process art rather than product, and the importance of making those connections for children and families. So also the service learning opened my eyes to greater possibilities, different perspectives, and it was really a powerful tool that I can carry with me through my teaching career.
Before I began school to finish my degree in early education, I was a home child care provider, and I used to buy the curriculum and have the children do the art and everything. But when I began attending class, Sheila, she's been my instructor. She's been one of my instructors since last September. So she's always told us what I said before. No Pinterest. Let the children just use the materials that you have on hand. And before having her as a professor, I never did that. I just kind of showed them what their art was supposed to look like, and they had to try and reproduce. But the learning service project made me see and think outside the box, that that children need to be creative. They need to see and feel different textures in order to experience the world around them, and bringing in literature to show them examples and to show them that they can too do these kind of things as well it's very special, and I'm very happy I got the opportunity to do this service learning, especially with the Eric Carle Museum. It was so much fun.
I definitely agree with Jessica. I absolutely adored doing this project with the Eric Carle Museum. I grew up with Eric Carle. It was just fascinating. This project really taught me a lot about myself and the material. Content-wise, I was able to learn more about a developmentally appropriate practice and a universal design, and what it takes to make a project truly those concepts, which I kind of struggled with at first. But I got the hang of it. Personally, I learned that I'm a really strong and natural leader, and that when I needed to, I rose up and I was able to complete the project with my group, and I was able to get it done. It was really stressful and challenging for me, but I got it done, and that's what I was most proud of.
So here is the project that my group and I created. It's called the Imagination Window. It was based on, or is inspired by, the illustrator Jason Chin. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of him, but a lot of his books, or the pictures in his books, the illustrations, were all beautiful nature scenes. And it inspired us to create an outdoor setting where children made their own windows out of any materials they could find in their home, outside, a lot of recycled material, and they could create whatever they wanted with it using their imaginations and creativity. And we connected it with a book. It was called Pies for Sharing. And he made a lot of connections with the sky and different things in nature.
Yes, Madre Goose. It was the name of the book, and this is some of the stuff that we created. And we basically just took textures from and colored on a piece of paper or painted, just used our surrounding to create art. I did the top left one, and I just kind of like wrote a little rhyme on there, and just did a little illustration just to show like what you can do when you pile textures on top of each other.
So my project, we did Leaping into Leaves, and it was based off of Eric and Terry Fan's book, The Night Gardener, where the night gardener would go around in the night and shape the trees into these magnificent topiaries. So we drew off of the leaves from the tree. Sorry, you can hear my dogs barking. And we created our own topiaries, and we encouraged people to collect leaves and shape them however they wish.
What difference can service learning make? So I feel like it can make a difference to everyone in different ways. So for the students, I feel like they're able to step out of their comfort zone a little bit and really work on their creative thinking, and create something that's totally process and not product. And they can challenge themselves, because I know that the project was a little bit of a challenge for me, but it was fun and it was a really great experience. They can also recognize their strengths in certain areas, and maybe work on any weaknesses they feel that they might have when it comes to the service learning or creating art projects. They can also gain a different perspective, maybe through the eyes of the child who's creating the project, and to really think about what would inspire them. And so it may help students who are on their way towards a career in teaching as well, or if they're already a teacher and they want to get some more ideas. And for the children and families, they can really work together and come together through these difficult times, and create something that's meaningful, because art really it creates discussion and lots of conversation, and they can really bond with each other. It's also great for all ages. I really enjoy doing the project, and I feel like children could really learn and experience through it. It also allows for open-endedness through exploration, creativity, and can increase their different development skills like cognitive, physical, and social emotional.
Anyone can go on the Eric Carle Museum website and go to the blog section and find all the HCC student work. 4 sets of their work has been posted, and I think there's one more post coming out, because we had 5 groups, and the museum has been posting 1 blog post a week, and you can find them on Instagram, on Twitter, and they're being shared all over the world, which is a really cool thing for the students, is seeing actually Penguin Kids Publishing retweeted some of their work. So they've had just a huge reach, and they thought really deeply about all the choices they made, and they worked really closely with Meg and Sarah from the museum, who are here tonight. So thanks for letting the students have a voice tonight, Lisa and Alex, and I'm so proud of 210. See you in practicum. You're not done with me.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And the work that you all produced is so beautiful. Just absolutely, absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much. All right, so now we are going to hear from students from the Honors 206 Colloquium. That's Vanessa Martinez and Raul Gutierrez's students.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alex Santiago, and I am presenting today with my classmates Mirren and Grace. The honors colloquium that we were a part of this semester is titled Pathologies of Power, the Neoliberal Attack on Democracy, Freedom, and Equity. And as Lisa said, our professors were Vanessa Martinez and Raul Gutierrez, who are here tonight. And so for our service learning project, we were divided into 2 groups of 2 people. Mirren and Grace were one group, and I was with one of our other classmates who couldn't make it tonight. Her name is Sophia. And each group put together a lesson plan for one group of first graders from the Joseph Metcalf School in Holyoke. And so the school is dual language, which is why we prepared fully bilingual lessons. And we read the books Dreamers and Soñadores by Yuji Morales. They were written and illustrated by her, and they tell the story of her journey coming from Mexico to the United States with her young son. So both groups focused on the topic of immigration for our classes. Mirren and Grace anchored the lesson in dreams and the students' dreams, with the hopes that they would understand the struggle that immigrants go through. And on the other hand, Sophia and I focused on the importance of empathy and community building, with the intent of creating solidarity among the students, among the children towards immigrants. The children really benefited from the new company and they really loved the story reading. So we were actually invited to come back a second time. And the second time we read a book called Be Bold, Be Brave, which in Spanish is called Sé Audaz, Sé Valiente. And the book was written by Naib Reynoso and illustrated by Joan Leo. And it showcases Latinas who have made US history. And so this is a page of the book talking about Rita Moreno. And as you can see, it's also a bilingual book. And these are some pictures from our classes. And it was really amazing to see how invested the kids were. And so I'll pass it on to Grace.
Thank you, Alex. Hi, everybody. My name is Grace, and I'll be talking about our course content and the benefits that the community partner received. So our course analyzes neoliberalism, other systems of power, and the ways in which these larger systems make inequity inaccessible or more difficult to reach for Latinx groups and BIPOC people in general, Black, Indigenous people of color. Like Alex said, our lesson plan focused on the topic of immigration and migration with the intent to suggest a new understanding for the children about migration, one that decenters this idea that immigrants and migrants are criminals or illegal aliens. So this connects back to our course content through the very topic of immigration and migration, which in itself is a violation of equity for BIPOC immigrants, which is informed again by these larger systems of power. And the Metcalf students benefited from these, our student-led discussions and activities simply because they were able to get involved and be connected with new people. I think it's super important to create stimulation and new surroundings for children, especially during a pandemic where they are doing schooling online. I mean, these kids are looking at these computer screens with the same faces in their homes for hours at a time, which can be disengaging. I know myself, I get disengaged and I'm a student in college. So I can just imagine that struggle for these young children. So by seeing new faces, learning about new content and new ideas like immigration, and doing these activities that require active participation, we were able to create a space where the kids continued to learn and continue to grow and stay connected during this period of, like social distancing and isolation. So with that, I'm going to pass it to Miran. Thank you.
Hi, y'all. My name is Miran. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the benefit of service learning and what benefit this class had. We created solidarity amongst the children, us as college students, the characters in the book, and even the teachers in the class, which were also participating with us. We need to teach children from a young age about immigration and decenter the criminalizing narrative, as well as build confidence in them. By carrying out community projects such as this one, we move one step closer to decentering white supremacy's criminalizing stereotypes. It is then that we can nurture solidarity as well as empathy and kindness. As students who have done in-person and remote service learning, we feel that it has not limited our options, rather it has broadened them. This remote setting has given us an opportunity to connect with a wider community. We focused on the benefit of the children rather than our own. Community outreach and community involvement has to be sustainable, and service learning can make a huge difference, which is why the Latinx Empowerment Association, or the LEA Club, is planning to give more classes with the Metcalf School for the 2021 spring semester. And we do this to carry out our commitment and promise to service learning and what it stands for, as well as to continue to show younger students that no setting, being in person or remote, can prevent us from learning. It is not about what I or we bring to the community. It is about what the community needs from me and us. Thank you.
I want to say something that my daughter goes to the school, and that was the favorite 2 days. Like, they actually taught my kids' classroom. I wasn't in that one, I was in the other one. And favorite 2 days that they did the whole year, because they were like, she was super excited. But I'm super proud, and I can speak for Vanessa and I, we were like super proud of how well they did.
It's so important to be able to have these experiences in our community, to be able to reach young people in our community, but even more important during this pandemic. So much more important. The impact is just phenomenal, and it's, you know, impacts socially, academically, emotionally. So I'm so thankful for the work that you guys have done. All right, yay. So let me do my little reaction because I just like doing it. Okay. So now we are going to hear from Clara Carroll's Marketing 240 students. These are Principal of Marketing students. So let's give the floor to marketing now.
Hi guys, my name is Joshua Whitaker. So I'm obviously a part of the Principals of Marketing 240. I'm gonna let, my group is Kevin Hayes and Nicholas Reed. Kevin's gonna start first, and then I will take care of the other half of it. But the floor is yours, Kevin.
All right, thank you, Josh. All right, so my name is Kevin Hayes, and I am a student of Clara Carroll. Our class is Principles of Marketing 240. A brief description would be that we partnered up with community partners, people within the surrounding cities. One of our partners that we partnered up with was Chicopee, and that was our personal partner, me, Josh, and we also have a group member named Nick. We had grouped up with the Chamber of Commerce in Chicopee. Other groups that Miss Clara Carroll made had to do with Holyoke, other surrounding towns, and different types of projects that had similar outcomes. They had a community partner that they worked with, and they based ideas off of to basically help the community and figure out different ways how marketing can be such a tool to help more than just a personal business, like how like just basic knowledge that Clara could provide for us, it could really make a change. Our project, like I said, was with the Chicopee Chamber of Commerce. We had our community partner named Julie, and we bounced ideas off of making a new logo, how to update a new website, and so much more. So that was really what our course content was about, was basically interviewing Julie, our community partner, and basically like Clara would give us like a sheet that would say like, give a description of what your business is about, how do you think we can improve it, and basically positivity, how to make the community realize that this is an important asset to the community. So it was a really fun project. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. Julie was an amazing person. And currently I live in Springfield, but before I used to live in Westfield, and I used to do a lot of volunteer work. So my aunt was head of the board, I think, in Westfield. So I did a lot of volunteer work for putting on events. I used to perform for some of the events. So this is a very close relationship that I have with volunteering. And so I really appreciate this project. So Josh, I could pass it on to you.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you, Kevin. So yeah, basically for this project, this was definitely different for me. Not really your normal type of thing, because in reality, we're looking more at the business aspect of everything, not just marketing, not what we can do, but really looking at the inside whole of it. So, you know, one thing was, like Kevin touched on, was creating a new logo. Also how to update a website, and what other ways to really boost and make the Chicopee Chamber of Commerce the best that they can be through marketing. And then we've had ideas, like Kevin said, we've met with Julie once a week. We would have ideas that would bounce off of each other. For example, creating a Twitter page, an Instagram page, social media, YouTube. So in reality, they could segment different businesses throughout the community, and actually give a insight look upon what they are doing. Not just what the business is, but also what Chicopee Chamber of Commerce does. I felt like that was really important because in reality, just speaking from my own experience of, I'm only 26, but growing up where I grew up, not really seeing what the town does. We know what the businesses do, but not who is the backbone behind everything else to really make the connections work. And that also, and for Chicopee, their target audience really is the younger audience. And for myself, I'm in that stage where I know people that are starting businesses or thinking about starting businesses. And what can I do to help Chicopee understand how to get that target audience to get onto the board of working with them? And I believe that Chicopee also is a great town or city in reality, but that there's a lot of opportunities there to actually flourish. And again, how do you do that? That's through marketing. And that's where, in reality, a lot of this stuff that in normal class settings, without the service learning, we're really just doing it based off of a big name corporation. And that's not, I mean, it's great to do, but you're not really going to get any learning out of it. This made you feel important, as well as actually contributing something to society and the community, which is also, again, what the Chamber of Commerce is trying to do, build a stronger community. And that's really like the most important thing, because, you know, I'm talking to friends and I'm like, oh, I have a business, I have to do a meeting with these people with the Chamber of Commerce. They're like, what? That's crazy. And I'm like, yeah, no, it is. I'm actually doing something that involves like real work with another city or community and trying to help them flourish. And that was awesome too, especially because, again, the target audience were creating a new logo. We could work with them on having HCC students who are doing graphic design work on a logo for them, or other people that are trying to do web design work with them, and having contests and really kind of bridging both gaps, and putting them both together in the same playing field. Because again, if these are careers that people want to do, they can also flourish and put this on their resume. Just like we can put this on our resume of what we're doing tonight, because that's kind of the important part. The college aspect of it is really a stepping stone, but through that stepping stone, it's what you learn. And a lot of people always say when you're in college, you're basically learning through a book, but this is not learning through a book. This is actually hands-on. And you can see just from this whole conference that we're doing today, how many people have learned so many things and helped so many communities already, which is, I'm really, really happy to be a part of. So in reality, that's what the difference has made for me. I can see how much of a difference it's made for everyone here. And I'm just grateful to be a part of it. And I'm grateful to be able to work with Kevin and Professor Carol, and really just, that was fantastic. And she definitely really, really helped me out a lot on understanding and becoming more of a business aspect and looking at how important marketing is, because that's why we have Zoom now and all these other grateful things. So thank you guys, and appreciate everything you guys have done. Thank you.
For years and years and years, when I was engaging in the community with organizations, with agencies, over and over, one of the most requested needs was marketing. That organizations don't have the wherewithal, don't have the resources, don't have the time or the manpower to do what's necessary to have a marketing plan, to have a new logo, to find ways to strengthen the towns that they're living, you know, that they're part of, and the community they're part of through marketing. And so when Clara Carroll joined the Service Learning Faculty Fellows Program, I don't know how many years ago, I was just so overwhelmed with gratitude, because I knew that this was a need that needed to be filled. And I'm very thankful for the work Kevin and Josh are doing this semester. Thanks. Okay.
Lisa, can I say a few words?
Yeah.
So I do just like thank you guys for presenting, and I know there's other students from the class that did other amazing projects, and I don't want to, they all did. There are 4 different groups, and they all work with different community partners, and all tremendous job. And I just want to stress the fact that those are students that had marketing for the first time. It's not like we have 3 or 4 sections of marketing. And so now we are learning marketing for the first time, and all of a sudden we are thrown into interviews with big people in a business, and let's start asking questions. And like I think like Josh stressed it pretty well, telling friends that I'm talking to a chamber of of certain city and working on a project, like really that's your college assignment. It is a huge step for the students. So I am so proud of all of them, that because I think what was not described well was the fact that at the end of the semester, students complete entire marketing plan through analysis to suggestions what to change, and we hand it over, and a PowerPoint presentation. So it is tremendous amount of work, and I'm super proud of my students.
Oh, okay, so our grand finale now is we're going to hear from Education 213 students. So those are students in the student teaching practicum with Professor Sheila Gould. So let's give the floor to these students.
Hi, my name is Laura, and Shelby is here tonight also. Ashley was not able to make it, but I'm part of EDU 213, sorry, and it's a student teaching practicum and online seminar with Professor Sheila Gould. We did a service learning project, and ours was a Zoomcast called Itsy Bitsy Zoomcast, and it was a way to get HEC alumni together along with our class to talk about some topics that are very important. And I think it's like super insightful too, because a lot of them you don't constantly think about, and then it gets brought up to your attention and you're like, oh yeah, I see, what can we do about that, or and things like that. And it was really nice to have the HEC alumni there too, because they went through the same college as us, same classes, and you get to see where they ended up too. So we got to talk to quite a few people, and a lot of us were split into different groups, so we could talk differently. And then it connected to our course because we are part of education, and a lot of us work in daycares and other schools, and we wanted to figure out, especially with like right now we have COVID going on and we constantly do things online, but there's so many barriers in the education world, and we kind of try to make it easier on each family, knowing that they constantly go through things every day, just like every single one of us. Shelby, would you like anything to add?
Shelby wrote a really beautiful reflection about her experience on the Zoomcast, and she shared it with a man named Teddy Kokoros, who runs a really well-known early education advocacy website, and he shared her work, published it, and sent it across the field, and it was really, really awesome. Is that you logging in on your phone, Shelby?
I just wanted to say how it was just so amazing to talk to so many different women about who have just been a part of so many different parts of education, and how we could just have an open dialect and just talk about anything. It wasn't stressful. We just were able to communicate and give advice and help out each other in a time where we really weren't sure what we were doing. It's made me realize how important our work is and how much I want to carry on and just keep growing and investing as many education students as I can, and just keep building even children, be like, you're going to be a teacher one day. You're going to be an amazing teacher. I just have such a passion for it, and I just want to keep building it. And these Zoomcasts really built my confidence.
It also made an impact on me also too, because as Sheila knows, and Shelby, because I know Shelby's in the same position as me, I was always thinking, all right, what could I do after I graduate from HCC, and seeing the HCC alumni on the Zoom and having them talk about their experience and also the topic that we were also talking about. And then at the very end, they would give like some good, like, just like helpful, like little notes here and there to us about like, you know, you can do it. I did it. I was in the same spot as you, and look at me now, I'm here. And it's just like, oh, wow, I can actually do things and make a difference. And as a teacher, I always want to make a difference in every child's life, or try to. You know, like sometimes those children might come in one day being sad, and if I can just make a difference just a little bit to make them a little bit happy while they're there, that could be a difference I make. Or maybe it's a huge difference where I can see a child learn only how to speak Spanish, but now she knows how to speak English. Or maybe I just make a difference also in my own life and my own career, starting from HEC and going up to, I don't know, executive director one day, I don't know. But it's just like nice knowing that all together there's things you can do out there, and the Zoomcast, Itsy Bitsy, really made everything I think more possible. I know in the beginning I was just like, what does this have to do with the class? And I was just like, all right, like I have to give it to Sheila, because like I know she would not just be like, all right guys, here's work. And I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna try this. And I was just like, all right, I have to figure out the point behind it. And after the first episode, I was just like, oh, I understand the main point and why she chose to do this service learning project too.
And who did you guys get to talk to? Who was like the coolest person you got to talk to?
Commissioner Sam.
The commissioner of early education and care came on the Zoomcast to talk directly to the students. It was awesome.
That was exciting. Like that was really exciting.
This group did a really good job. There are 7 episodes, actually 8, because the episode with President Royal came out today. So there's 8 episodes on the HCC Facebook page. They're all recorded. It's a partnership between myself and my colleague Liz Charlene Tate, who works for Strong Start. And the idea is that students are moving from HCC faculty being their professional development to the state agency Strong Start being their professional development. So it's giving them that connection. I'm echoing. Sorry.
It happens. Well, one of the things, again, what really struck me is, you know, during this time of, you know, so much sort of isolation and separation, the Zoomcast was able to bring together, you know, just to really serve the early childhood education community on so many different levels. So people who are out in the field, and people who are making a policy, and people who are studying, and, you know, kind of brought everybody together during this time of, you know, so much separation, and allowed people to, you know, put their heads together to support the early child educators who are out there right now in this, you know, really difficult time doing their work. So, yay. All right. So now that actually concludes our student presentations, and there's some time for some Q&A, and then we will hear from our special guest, John Reif, Director of Civic Engagement and Civic Learning for Department of Higher Ed. But before we hear from John, Q&A time. So questions, comments, anything that anyone would like to put in the chat or talk to us about or ask students about would be great.
So I don't exactly have a question. Hi, I'm Trish Kiefer in social sciences, but I do want to recognize, the faculty as well as the students, but I'm going to give a shout out to the faculty who have worked tirelessly to support these projects. I gotta say, I'm a little overwhelmed because I hear, you know, faculty get a little frustrated and nervous and anxious and worried about student success. And then I hear these stories from all these students tonight, and I'm really quite overwhelmed because the faculty have done such an amazing job. And and I get to hear the students and what you, like you've said, I understand, it's real world experience, I'm making a difference. I heard that a million times tonight, and so thank you, because I'm overwhelmed and I'm filled with such gratitude. Lisa, you said gratitude, and that was like, that's the exact word. So thank you to the faculty for doing what you're doing, and students for stepping up, because these are not easy days. So not a question, but I couldn't help myself. So thank you guys very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Trisha. I echo all of that.
I have a general question, and any student from any course could chime in, but one of my students mentioned that when she saw the assignment, it was like, oh God, what is this? And I know that my courses are a lot of work. I have that reputation, right? But I try to make there be a meaning always behind it. So I'm curious for students, what was the one moment where you felt like, wow, what I'm doing in this service learning project means something to me and to the community? I'm wondering who had one of those moments where they were like, oh my gosh, this is meaningful.
I think mine actually like happened off really quickly. Because I know I was just like thinking like in the very beginning, I was like, all right, like what does this have to do with my course, and like what will it have to do with me? So I was like kind of thinking about that, and I think right after or maybe even actually during when we did the group chats for the forums, and we started getting into talking to each other, and I responded to some other of the students' comments and stuff too. I think that's when I started noticing, because we had such like a very great responses from everyone, I think. And because we had such great responses, I think that's when I was like, oh wow, I see where this is actually going. And I was like, all right, it's coming together. And I think the next part that like really got me is that when I saw the little videos go out, I was like, wow, this actually like comes together really well. And I was like, oh, I see where this is going. And I see the point of this. Like, it's bringing up very like valuable, important topics, I think, especially in the EDU class when I was doing the Zoomcast Itsy Bitsy.
I didn't understand until way later. I didn't understand until our posts were being submitted by Eric Carl, and I had shared like the Instagram posts and stuff, and I wanted my community to look at it and be proud of me, because I worked really hard on this project. And it wasn't until I started getting feedback from like old classmates from high school and like adults that helped raise me, and like for them to tell me that they were proud of me and the work that I did was like, oh my God, like I did something. And I thought that was when I really understood what I did.
For me, I think it was gradual over time. First meeting with Julie, that was, pretty big, because most people don't have that opportunity, like a lot of people here already have said. And then honestly, Professor Carroll kind of hit it on the head with like creating a marketing template. Like that was a lot. Where I'm looking at creating a budget plan, action plan, and actually like researching numbers and researching like the actual, comparing the amount of what Chickadee's paying for their budget for having a membership fee compared to Amherst, Springfield, East Longmeadow, and like really getting into the details of everything. That's when I realized, I was like, oh, this is like serious. This is a real thing. And it was perfect for me because I'm a double major. I'm a math major, and I'm figuring out if it's going to be either econ or business. And this kind of gave me a really good idea more of what field do I want to get into, because marketing is a part of business, for sure. And that kind of like gave me a little bit more of an insight of what I potentially might do. And that was the part when I was like, this is real, like not just meeting with someone and asking questions, but not just doing an interview, but putting it all together and seeing all the information that has been accumulated over time. So yeah, that's when it got real for me, which is really just last week.
Thank you for sharing that. As a professor, I'm always looking for that moment that the students have something click for them. And in the virtual setting, it can be harder to see that or feel it. So I'm glad you shared. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. And I want to say something like Sheila mentioned, like Sheila, I think you said you're known for your classes being difficult. So I don't know if I'm known for my classes being difficult, but I feel like sometimes, especially on the beginning of the semester, my students don't like me just because I say, well, check your grammar. You didn't answer this, do that. How about this part? And I never say, I'm proud of you. So like this is a teaching moment for me. Maybe I should start doing that a little earlier, because now at the end of the semester, I'm like, I'm truly proud of you guys. I'm almost afraid of saying that early and being soft, because then students will be like, oh, you're doing fine, right? I'm so like, I'm hard. And Josh can probably like, look at it, he's laughing because he knows, like, I'm like, you know, you need to capitalize this. And you're like, I like kind of little freak here, like always saying what to improve, not in a sense that I want to be difficult, but want to make you succeed. And so it's always difficult balance to find, right? To have the positive endorsement while pointing out what needs to be improved. But at the end of the semester, it's so worth it. And I'm so proud of not just my students, but everybody else who presented here. It is so heartwarming and touching to see it all.
Absolutely. And I agree with Trisha and Clara. And so many times I found myself just tearing up listening to all of you talk about your experiences. This is really what we want the most for all of you to have, these types of experiences that are enriching for you on so many levels. All right. So I think maybe it's time to hear from our special guest, John Reif, and I'll let you introduce yourself properly.
Oh, you've introduced me properly. Well, almost. I'll say one more thing. I'm John Reif, and I work for the Department of Higher Education for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That is the state agency that works with the Board of Higher Education, which oversees all of the community colleges and state universities, the public higher ed institutions in our state. And my role is Director of Civic Learning and Engagement, which means I get to work with people like Lisa and the faculty that she has gathered together and supported and helped create these kinds of wonderful, wonderful courses. The Board of Higher Education back in 2014 passed a policy on civic learning. And the policy says, well, what is civic learning? It is acquiring the knowledge, the intellectual skills, and the practical skills that people need to make informed and effective action in civic and democratic spaces. And it also includes acquiring an understanding of the social and political values that underlie democratic practices. And they said, we are calling on all of the public colleges and universities to involve their undergraduates in civic learning. The response that Holyoke Community College has made to that call has been primarily through this program, a program of service learning and civic engagement that started about 10 years before that policy was passed. And each semester, Lisa works with a group of faculty to add new courses to this program to create in different disciplines courses that have an opportunity for students to do the kinds of meaningful work in the real world around the college that you folks have been telling us about tonight. And I've had the privilege of working with Lisa and the faculty that she's brought together. So I'm happy to see those of you faculty who I know from previous semesters here tonight. As you all know, we are now facing extraordinary challenges because of the pandemic, and the kinds of work that faculty and students have organized in past years isn't so much possible now because of the conditions of the pandemic. And so the courses displayed here tonight have done really creative pivots to make it possible for you students and in your classes to continue to have a real engagement with community people in which you do something meaningful. And I think the outcomes are extraordinary. They're extraordinary for your learning as students, and they're extraordinary for the impacts on the communities that you've been working with. Laura asked the question, what does this have to do with my course? And what does this have to do with me? And we heard at least a dozen different answers tonight about what this has to do with your course, what it has to do with you. And I just want to share back with you a few of the things I heard from you. You learned that children need to be creative, and you learned how to support them in doing that. You learned about decentering white supremacy and nurturing solidarity among children. You learned that no setting or person can prevent us from learning. You learned that you can be role models for kids who are experiencing challenges similar to those that you've lived through. You've learned that you can create resources that make the backbone of a town visible to its people. You've learned that you can actually do something that involves real work with the community, and that you can organize dialogue with alumni from this college who have gone on to do incredible things, and you can have dialogue with them about what they learned to do in the field that you're aiming to go into. That's just a sample. You said a lot more than that, but those were some things that I picked up from you. And I think this is just an incredibly important way that the college has supported all of you on this screen, the students and the faculty, in making education make sense, making it take a form that prepares you to solve public problems. And that's what education should do. It should build our capacity to recognize and do something about public problems, because we've got enough public problems. We got to be dealing with them. And tonight, we had a bunch of examples of that. So this is a model that in my position with state higher ed, I love to talk about. Now I've got a whole set of new resources to share with other colleges across the state. I can say, look at what Holyoke Community College is doing. If this goes up on your website, I can say, here's the website. You can see students talking about what they did and what they learned. And so I want to thank you for including me tonight and giving me a chance to hear this wonderful, wonderful stuff.
Thank you so much, John. Yay. I'll do my little reaction. Okay. Yay. Wow. So this is a beautiful way to end tonight. And thank you so much for everything. Thank you to John and to our professors, Sheila Gould, Clara Carroll, Cheryl Sivion, Vanessa Martinez, Raul Gutierrez, the Service Learning Subcommittee, and Lizzie Parr, and our wonderful student presenters and our fabulous community partners. Yay, round of applause.